So firstly, what is a portfolio GP?
So a portfolio GP is basically a GP who has a number of different interests outside or within clinical medicine. So I prefer to use the term portfolio career because I feel that's a bit more appropriate. So basically, someone who has a portfolio career has a number of different careers and interests. It could be paid, unpaid work, and it's just them being, I would say, themselves completely, and nurturing the different aspects to who they are.
So a lot of what you do is being a GP. So what do you enjoy most about that?
I think it's the relationships with the patients that I do enjoy a lot of. I enjoy hearing people's stories, within and outside of medicine as well. But yeah, I enjoy hearing people's stories. I enjoy just having a chat with the patients and the patients I see. I think it's important to build that rapport with someone, especially a patient. That's really important, and just to develop that that human touch, and which is why remote work is great. And obviously we had to do that throughout the pandemic, not purely remote work but a lot of it. But it's always important to have a combination, so that you can always have that human element versus just a screen blocking you, or over the phone. So I think that's what I enjoy about general practice. Yeah, just speaking to people, listening to them, and just building that doctor-patient relationship.
Many people obviously see that you're successful in a lot of things you do in the different kind of parts of your portfolio career. So how do you keep increasing your goals and keep dreaming big so that you don't stay in the same place in your career?
I just do what kind of makes me happy in a way. I just follow, like, my interests. I mean, obviously, we all have some kind of plan, a rough plan. I think it's important to have a plan, but then to appreciate and understand that things change, and as things change in your life, in your career, that you should adapt. So although I have a plan of where I'd like to be in, I don't know, 2 5 years, I understand that actually things may not always go that way. And I think for me, I'm always looking for opportunities. I'm always open to trying new things. So the things that I do, they've just been things I've said yes to because it sounds interesting and enjoyable, or things that, yeah, maybe I've intentionally sought out.
How do you think smart so that you're not following the same path as everyone else and that you're standing out from the crowd?
I think, like I said, just being me and just following my interests and trying to be strategic. I mean, it doesn't always work out, but I think having a plan and having a rough idea, and like I said, trying to adapt, speaking to people. Over the years, I've tried to be in contact with people who could act as mentors. I mean, I always thought about a mentor as being someone who would firmly kind of support you, but actually, it's not. It doesn't always have to be that. It could be having a chat with someone who you look up to, or who's doing something in the field of interest that you're passionate about. So I think, yeah, just opening your network up and trying to build connections and learning from other people's experience as well.
And obviously you're really big on LinkedIn, so would you say that's been
Am I?
well, compared to a lot of us, would you say that's helped you with your opportunities and growing what you do?
Yeah, LinkedIn is definitely a good platform. I think there are lots of good platforms out there, and I think it depends on how much time and energy you can invest into it. A few years ago, I invested a lot of time and energy into LinkedIn. It's kind of dwindled a little bit, which I think has been reflected in my posts and engagement. But I think LinkedIn is definitely a good platform to find jobs and opportunities, network with people. I've had some opportunities on LinkedIn. I've had job offers. I've accepted some. I've declined some. I mean, not everything is great, and not everything is for you. But I think being able to use it and use it in the right way for you is the way to go about it. So I think it's definitely good. And yeah, I mean, I've spoken about it on my YouTube channel, where I was offered a job as a program lead for a master's program, and senior clinical lecturer. So again, it just goes back to taking and grabbing the opportunity. I'm really keen on education, and I want to pursue my career as a medical educator. And for me, of course, it was daunting because I hadn't had any experience, um, on a master's, teaching a master's program or helping to design a master's program. But I spoke to one of my mentors, and I just thought, well, I might as well take the opportunity, and I'll gain a lot of experience from it and meet people. And so yeah, so I think it's LinkedIn is great, but I think like anything, you obviously have to be wary. You have to do your research, and just use it in a way that will suit you and hopefully better your career.
And also, you are the founder of Medschool Xtra. So could you tell us a little bit about what that is, why you set it up?
So Medschool Xtra is a centralized place for medical students and early career doctors to find all they need to know about primarily the non-clinical career, non-clinical aspects to a career or medical career. It started basically when I started my YouTube channel. So, and when I was being a bit more active on LinkedIn, funnily enough, so I was speaking to medical students and just basically just asking them, what they needed help with, what content I could provide on my YouTube channel, because ultimately it was for them. And they basically gave me loads of ideas, and a lot of my videos are content related to what they wanted me to produce content on. And then I thought, well, what else can I do to kind of help the medical students and like foundation year doctors? And I thought about creating a platform that would be able to provide this information on a bit more of a bigger scale. And before I did that, I did a market research survey. It was a very small survey. We had about 40 respondents, UK medical students. And off the back of that, we've basically now turned that into a few publications, actually. So some of the people who joined Medschool Xtra, they're not part of Medschool Xtra now, but they're still working on the research project. So we've had one paper published about career readiness and how ready medical students feel to start work as a doctor. And there's a couple more papers that they're working on. And then our current group is actually working on some more papers. So, there are lots of benefits of Medschool Xtra for those who engage in our platform, but for those who actually join the team. So yeah, so it's really just a centralized place for medical students and early career doctors to learn things that are not taught at medical school, basically things that you may not even learn during your training, which is something that I found. There were a lot of things around the finances, even through my GP training. We had, I think, one session from a company that helps you, once you finish, it helps you find or set up your kind of locum portfolio. So locum is basically freelance or being a self-employed GP. You're more of like a temporary GP, although you can have a long-term post. And they came in to talk to us just about getting set up and things like that. And that was literally the only kind of session we had. And other than that, you could talk to your trainer. But really, again, going back to certain taboo subjects, money in medicine is something that it's changing, but it's something that people don't often feel comfortable to talk about. Salary, how much you earn, things like that. So so I felt like, although things are improving, at the time I felt like actually there was a big gap where there were loads of different topics: leadership, your employee rights, contracts, even like the working rota, things like that. There just wasn't that information out there, or if it was more scattered. So there are quite a few places now, I think, that do a bit more, and the BMA obviously do things, but I think there's still like a big gap for what Medschool Xtra is, basically. So that's it in a nutshell.
What would be your top 3 tips to inspire the next generation of medical professionals?
Okay. So
just 3 tips.
I think, like I was saying, I think be yourself. I think it's important to. We always hear this term of being authentic or authenticity. It is hard to not to be authentic or to be someone else. I think it's draining. And I think for me, I've always just tried to be Patrice, or, just be who I am. It takes a lot of energy to be someone else, So it's for me, I think it's important to know who you are first and foremost, and to be who you are. And if people don't like who you are, and you know that you're being yourself and you're not doing anything wrong, then that they're well within their rights not to be your friend, or to not to get on with you. You're not going to get on with everyone. Not everyone is going to like you. But if you're yourself, I think that's, and you stay true to yourself. I think that's maybe my biggest one of my biggest tips. Inspiring, always inspire. I think be kind to other people, because you don't know what people are going through. People might have a big smile on their face, and they might always appear cheery, and they might always appear like they're, the life and soul of the party, but they might be the saddest person, and they can't share it with anyone. So I feel like you should always try your best to be nice to people, even if they're not always nice to you. If you're a nice person, and this is a very important point, because you don't know who you might encounter later on in your journey. So there've been many people that I've worked with or I've trained with, and then I've met them later on. So I think it's important to just be nice, because you don't know what people are going through, and you don't know who you might meet again later on, and who you might need help from. And I think it's always, my last tip would be, always try and give back or support other people. It doesn't have to be monetary. It doesn't have to be a massive gesture. It could be, 20-minute phone call, or it could be responding to an email, or giving free tips. So I feel like there's always ways you can help other people, and it doesn't always have to be a massive thing. If you do loads of little things for loads of people, you've done so much. So I think those would be my 3 tips. I try to keep it concise. So that would be it, I would say.